Okay, so we are recording. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are on interviews with souls, soul-to-soul interviews. I am selecting beautiful souls that I see around the place who are using soul to do with their business and souls to do with their lives. And I'm having discussions with them. Thankfully, I've got some beautiful souls in my network. Just to see how we are living this life in this human body, knowing that we are super conscious and knowing that we are souls. This is the journey that we're on this planet. Karina, why don't you introduce yourself, honey? Seems to be the easiest and the most professional way to do this. We were just having a little bit of a laugh, and this is all about what we want to talk about today, about we know we're super conscious beings, and then we're mums, we're going to the bank, we're breaking cars, we're talking to neighbours. Karina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I'm so happy to be here, and it's so great to connect. So my name is Karina Ladette, and I live in France, just like Fiona. I'm an intuitive mentor and channel and for conscious entrepreneurs mostly. I work mostly in English, but also in French and Swedish. I'm Swedish, and I've lived in France for almost 20 years now, which is insane. But I'm really grateful to be here, and I don't know if there's any more I want to say about this, like about myself, because I think this is going to be such an amazing conversation to have.
Well, yes, let's just hope that it is. Karina and I was talking a minute ago about sometimes before we go on, you can have the choice whether you prepare yourself. And Karina and I, because we work with our souls in such a way, this is why we want to have these conversations. We kind of go, it's over to you now. You made these interviews possible. You helped me talk on stage. You helped me write this book. So, well, it's over to you now, because this is your purpose. This is what you want us to understand. Evolve the population who have landed in a human being, but we are souls. We are spirit. So, Karina, I wanted to ask you, how did you first, or when did you first realize? Maybe it was a big aha or a big boom moment, but when did you first realize that you were not just Karina?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's so interesting because I don't think about this stuff so much, but because I've been interviewed quite a lot by lots of different kinds of people, it's so interesting to kind of look back on that, because now it feels like such a normal part of my existence that it's almost as if I don't remember not being who I am today. Well, first of all, I grew up with my mom, who's very intuitive, and she always talked about like soul and, having premonitions and being, sensing things, having like receiving signs from around us. So for me, this was actually quite normal. Well, as normal as we think our own moms are growing up. So for me, I don't have like a moment where all of a sudden I could feel this and it became like a new thing. But I do remember my dad died when I was 7. And when I look back, I do remember that turning point where all of a sudden I could see myself kind of from the outside, and I could see something much bigger. And from that age, I remember kind of always reading things on different levels, like being, how it is. I think for a lot of us who are intuitive and in tune to what's going on, it's like we see life on different levels. So there's something going on, and you can also sense what the people are feeling. You're like reading things energetically as well. Of course, at the time, I didn't know this, but now looking back,
spidery tentacles are out. You're feeling absolutely everything that's going on around you.
Yes, exactly. And when adults say things, and that that's not the truth. I remember doing that from when I was really little, but I think it really kind of kick-started when my dad died, and I had this kind of extra sensory experience in a way. And then I lived like that for a long time before starting to meet people and having conversations and realizing that I wasn't the only one feeling these things. So I think that was like the starting point for me. But I don't have like a big coming out moment like a lot of people do, because in my family it wasn't really a big deal, because everyone was a bit strange and intuitive. And
well, what a blessing.
Yes, I'm very grateful for that now, because I don't have that thing where I know for a lot of people, it's a really big deal. And sometimes it also means leaving family behind because they don't accept who we are.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we do have to sort of, this is the whole point of these conversations, is because, you know, we're living, you know, one sort of world over here that kind of, it's kind of funky. And at the same time, there's other people who don't get it. You can't communicate, and you sort of, you have to dumb down your conversation to reach them or something like that. Yeah, so we're living in kind of like this massive divide, it seems. We're trying to bring everybody into this fact that, you know, you remember that you are a spirit. You chose to be here at this particular time. And I remember reading that years and years ago, you know, that we are here at a very, very special time, and the people who chose to be here now chose it because they were able to deal with it.
Yeah, right. I jokingly say this to my clients, where I'm like, I must have been a bit drunk when I chose this lifetime. Like, oh, that'll be fun. Let's go to Earth at this time, you know?
But then again, if you watch any of the sort of like history programs or series, you kind of go, holy cow, I'm glad I wasn't around then.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So I don't see that this is any different, that we're trying to ascend into spiritual beings while we're still in human form. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and she said, I don't think it's possible. It's just such a big jump. She came from, you know, working with Arthur Anderson and things like that, and, you know, big company structure. And she's now beginning to sort of read a lot and do Reiki and things like that. She said, I just don't think it's possible to sort of be that different person in a lifetime. She said, just so much would happen. And I must say, I remember the time when I was, you know, waking up, going to work, coming home, eating, going to bed, that kind of lifestyle. And then I was introduced to these kind of meditations. And I just remember this boom, one of the many, but boom, like, oh my God, I'm not going to live long enough to do everything that I want to do. Yeah. And it's like purple, just like boom. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so some people get like a big boom moment. Other people sort of like, I also had a visitation by, I don't even know what they're called now, those Egyptian men with dog heads. Oh, yeah. I heard him walking through the house and up the stairs, and I was like, it's not my dog, it's really heavy. And then this thing was standing by the side of my bed, and I was like, oh God, it's massive. And I'm thinking, I wasn't sleeping. I remember that. So, and then I was like, okay, I'll look now. I was like, God, I was like, what did I ask you some questions?
Yeah, the afterthoughts, right? Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes these experiences can also like startle us. Sometimes we feel like we're not ready for them. I often feel like whatever I communicate with, or whatever like things I'm meant to create, I always feel like there's so much bigger than me, and then I kind of have to feel like I have to grow into like being able to hold space for that. But it's like that constant growth. I often feel like I didn't really choose. It's not what I would personally choose. It's more like, oh wow, this is going to give you massive growth, and this is where you're heading.
It's like when I started writing this book about, you know, how to create, how we are creative beings, how you get to create stuff or turn things around, or how you get to sort of live in the house that you had, you know, the shopping list like this, or the partner you had the shopping list like this before, or so when I started writing that book, I was like, I really don't know what this book's about, but I remembered getting the message, write your book, write your book, write your book. Yeah. I was like, okay, then I'll write my book. But at the same time, they'd given me this massive hip ache, and I couldn't even walk up the hill. So, and then I was writing this book, and then someone else was coming in to help me be a publisher, and I was channeling these dragons, and they were massive. And I'm thinking, are they really dragons, or are they really have to be that big and that powerful to get me to sit up and notice? Yeah. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's like past life regression, isn't it? Did that really happen? Were you really that person, or is it just what you needed to see so that you could believe it and embody it?
Yeah, not getting so attached to the stories. I find that really important as well. It's like, okay, yeah, so you did a past life regression, or you connected with this type of energy. So how are you going to use that now to move forward, right?
Yeah. And I think it kind of blows people's minds as well when you think about, okay, well, I'm human, therefore I've only ever had human past lives. It's like, well, what if we are from completely different dimensions? I know when I did Reiki, when I was running my retreats in France when I first came here, and I was giving all the clients Reiki, and I remember these beings, these souls coming out of the body, and I remember being very aware of them and thinking, they're not from this planet. And I was thinking, well, who says we have to come from this planet? We're not all souls, and this isn't the only planet that's inhabited, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, yeah, of course. And then it just opens up your mind. And the reason I'm saying that is because your imagination is absolutely spectacular, and you can only create something when you can imagine it. If we're only in this sort of like, this dimension, this way, this belief, this limited thinking, whether it's to do with, your partner, the kind of relationship you have with your parents or your children, or what you want to create for yourself, or where you want to go on holiday. If you haven't imagined it, you can't create it. What kind of experiences have you had with that?
Oh my goodness. So many crazy things. When you get an idea and you go like, where did that image come from? And then it calls you in, it like feels like it pulls you. And I often resist. I'm like, no, that doesn't fit with my plan. And then it just pulls you out, right? And you just kind of have to surrender at some point, because if you don't, it just blocks everything else. And it's like, one of my things is like, because I don't really like surrendering and letting go. I remember my guides telling me that for years, and I was like, I don't think that's my thing. And now I realize that, right. Now I realize that the only choice I have is either I let go and it's like faster and smoother, or I resist. But this is where I'm being pulled, and at some point I will have to move in that direction. And so I try to like just let things come to me, and more kind of, I guess, release emotions and fears around it so that it can be smoother. But I've had, actually, it's so interesting now that you mentioned this thing about other dimensions. I've had 2 calls like this about, for me, it's often been about places that call me, country specific places that I don't understand with my mind, but there's something about my soul calling me to these places. And I've had 2 really strong calls to go to Australia. One was in 2013. And at the time it seemed impossible. My kids were like 4 and 7. My husband was working. We did not have the money to go to Australia. And I knew that I didn't want to go on my own, like, because my daughter was quite, well, I think she was 3 or 4. And I was like, no, it has to be as a family.
Yeah, exactly.
And, and somehow it was like the land and the energies there, they just pulled me in. And by in some miraculous way, I managed to pull it off. Like, I got the money for the tickets. We had amazing people who let us stay with them. Like, all these miraculous things happened to make this happen. And when I arrived there, and I arrived in that place that had been calling me, it was exactly my vision.
Yeah.
Like, there was like this eagle that I kept seeing in my dreams. And I had a really deep connection with an Aboriginal man. And there was something about the land, kind of like, like with drumming, sometimes you feel like it's just, something vibrates within you and you can not resist it. So I've had that a couple of times, and it was just, it's been amazing. Like, it feels like being in a movie, one of those movies where you go, nah, that's not very realistic, is it? And then you live it and you go, wow, this is really real life magic. And I think now, because it's happened several times in different ways, I kind of know this now. So it's a little bit less scary. I mean, it's always a bit scary and not always the right time, according to my plans. But yeah, it's been some of the most profound experiences in my life, I think.
And I love that you turned around and said, I don't think letting go is my thing, because
right?
Totally, that's not it. No. That's not my plan. It's not what I've seen. It's not what I want.
Yeah, like wanting to micromanage, right? Our soul's path.
And then, you have these magical experiences and you think, yay, I can do it. I've done it. This is amazing. I've done it. And then you kind of have to go and do the laundry.
Yeah. It's like, flying high and then coming down, and then finding ways to navigate all these different aspects of life. But I also find, like, before I used to find that, you know, everyday life was a little bit boring and there were things I didn't want to do, or like talking to people about ordinary things. But I find that the more I do this, the spiritual work, and like I support business owners who are also like bringing down big visions, the more I explore these other dimensions and more subtle energies, the more I actually enjoy the daily stuff. I find it so grounding, you know, like just doing the laundry or being with my kids. Oh, it's so good because you can feel that it's so good for your body, and it's such a great way to ground the experience.
Conversations I have when I'm gardening, and the conversations I have when I'm doing the wall, I'm like, okay, I've got to paint this whole room white. Okay. So you start and you think, and then you think, come on, you know, I call my soul Roma, even though we're one. And I'm saying, let's have some fun here. Let's just make the time go quickly. What would you want to do? What should we talk about? And before I know it, it's sort of like it's all over and done. It's like, all right, okay, well, maybe I could do another code.
Yeah, it's great to be able to do things in that spirit, because I feel like it's not like now I'm doing my work and I'm being spiritual and now I'm just being my ordinary self. It's like, how do we embrace like embodying all aspects of us at all times? And also the repetitive movements sometimes I find always gives me lots of great ideas. Like if I'm driving, I'll get a download, or
head gone. But I also find it funny, and I don't know about you, if you're sitting at a dinner table and there's like lots of different people there or something like that, and my French isn't so good, so sometimes if I'm in that kind of situation, I'll decide I'll have a conversation with their soul. And I'll think, oh, what am I feeling, or what am I picking up from this person? You know, why would they decide to? I can more or less understand what they're doing, and I don't necessarily. It's weird being in France. I think that's why I'm here. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the energy of what they were talking about. And if somebody then said to me, "So what were they saying then?" I'd be like, "Bleh," because it's all back to words again. I was like, I can't translate that. I just know that we have to go down here, turn left.
Yes. No, I think that's a great example. I've done this when I've had, because I spoke French before coming here, so I don't really check out the way you do when sometimes it's a language that you don't know so well. So you kind of check out because it's tiring, because there's a lot of information. But I have done this when I've had like, you know, the parent teachers meetings that I find unbearable sometimes, and I'm like, oh gosh, and all the moms are gonna get upset and all the stuff that I don't like so much. And what I do is I prepare and I tune into their souls before I go, and then I set an intention. And sometimes it's just to be like a beacon of light and of peace in the room, and to like radiate whatever energy I want to share with them, to make sure that it's as smooth as possible and we all have like a good time. So I do try to meet people where we can meet, even if we don't necessarily agree on things. So setting it up like that. I did something similar when I needed some people in my previous house when I was first a single mom, and I needed some people to sort of paint the house and do those kind of things. And there was a website that I was using, and I was like, but I'm a single mum, and I'm inviting men into my house from around the world. Well, why don't I just feel into their energy and see what the effect has on me? Okay. So I felt into this first guy, and I was like, nothing changed. I didn't feel any different. So I thought, well, I'll tune into my ex. Yeah, that's definitely his energy. All right, okay, check it with somebody else. Yep, that's his energy. Check back in again to this Sam who was going to come and do some work in the house. Nothing changed. I went, okay, so is this a good fit for me? Does I just invite him? And I just kind of got a gentle yes. And I went, okay. He was the nicest young man you've ever met. Oh. At the end of the day, he'd say, Fiona, is there anything else I can do for you before I go to have a shower? And if we went shopping, he always carried the shopping bag. I said, my God, you're just like, you need to start a finishing school for boys. So
and he
sweet.
said, but it's no more than I do for my mum or anything. I'm like, oh, okay. And he brought certain things into our house. So dinner times are always difficult for me. When it's a lot of stress, that's why I always talk about the body. When it's a lot of stress, I used to overeat because that was just a way to sort of block everything out.
Mm.
And he used to say, so, you know, what were your 3 favourite things today? So this was a way to have conversation with my boys instead of them fighting or something like that, or me worrying about something or asking them about their homework. I was like, why is it always at the dinner table? It's just such a horrible time to do that, you know, when it's relation with food and those heavy conversations. And I also started playing games with them at that point as well about what am I thinking? And we'd play these games, you know, and we'd have to just ask questions to find out what was going on. So using our spirit in different ways to feel into whether people are safe to bring into your house, like you, the teachers, you know, spread the light and love. How else do you join in, use, play with spirit?
Well, I think it's one of the most fun things to do in a playful way so that it's part of daily life. And we did talk about this before we started recording this conversation, like how we can have fun with it and it doesn't have to be so serious. Just like you, I will do that every time I'm connecting with someone, whether it's someone coming to my home, someone I'm going to create something with, on every level. I actually had a really fun thing happen when I had some trouble with the French, what do you call it, tax office. There had been some mistake and I was really nervous about going. And you know how it is with French administration. So I brought out all my energy tools and I prepared, I connected with the place where I was going. I was calling in the perfect person to help me. And I was like, this is crazy. My husband was kind of laughing at me because I really brought out the big guns. And it was just incredible. I show up there, everyone's super sweet, super like kind and soft and gentle, which isn't always the case. And I had this woman who was taking care of my case and she was just adorable. She showed me all her tricks and my problem was solved. And she went like above and beyond like what I expected from someone as support. And it was just amazing. And it really showed me how important it is to bring this work that we do and how we do life into everything, because it's all energy.
How we do
and
life.
right. And even if the person isn't like someone who meditates, you know, an hour every day, like it doesn't matter. Like we can all connect on that level. And I think it's really lovely because I feel like, to me, it's a way to bring like who I am and my love for life and for people and the joy I feel a lot of times into every place and every situation. So it kind of, to me, it feels like being in prayer constantly, you know, like breathing in love, breathing out love, and just allowing that. So I love playing like that. Or if I'm in a big airport and everyone's stressed out. When I used to take the plane from Charles de Gaulle, so the biggest airport in Paris, it's like huge. I always get lost there. It's very messy. People are super stressed out, often not very friendly. And so I would just stand in the middle of this huge hall and like just breathe in love, breathe out love. I mean, strong boundaries, but very loving. And then I would just beam it out. And the number of guys in their suits who would like turn around to look for, they didn't really know what, but something. It was just amazing. So I invite everyone to just play with energy and to see how you feel, how it makes other people feel. And as long as we, I think, respect maybe certain, like doing a practice so that it feels safe to you. So, you know, making sure your boundaries are good, you're grounded as you do it. I think it's just lovely. It's fun.
I'm being asked at this precise moment, because of what we're talking about, just to show a little bit about what you and I do as how we actually connect in. So we can do this together. I don't know how it's going to work. We can do this together. But basically, when you're playing with something, so like Karina was just talking about, she had an issue at the tax office. I had a very similar issue with dart charge, a toll in the UK. £2.99 escalated to 125 euros. And I said, but I paid it. You know, so a lot of to and fro. And I went, okay, I have to bring out my big guns to do it. And they're the same big guns that we're talking about. Like, I need help here. So, I mean, I tend to sort of, you know, just come into my body, get into a safe place, get into my heart, breathe all the air all the way up and down. And I've listened to sort of Karina do the same sort of things. But at the same time, I'll see the tail, like an avatar tail, loop down from the base of my spine, go down into the earth and connect in with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm connected in with the earth. I'll bring it, the earth's energy, gold energy, it comes up through my body, loops in around the heart, and then goes up, and there's like almost a heart cord or a tail that goes all the way up into the sky, into the heavens. And again, it connects up like the avatar way that it does, and it just loops in. So when you're looped up and connected to the heavens, and then down through your body is the conductor, and you're looped down right into the core of the earth. All around you is your soul and your spirit and your aura and your helpers and everything else. And you are this conduit. Now, if there's anything that you need to sort out, from this place, your quiet place, you're in your heart space is where you do it from. Keep breathing, keep connecting up with source, keep asking the questions that you need to be asking. You can also tap this out. You can also sort of have your hands in a particular way. But when you're connecting in with somebody then on the earth level, you can also see yourself with a light or something coming from your heart to their heart. Now, if you're in an office and you're sitting opposite somebody at a desk, or your partner and you've got something to talk about, or your child, or somebody in the bank, or even with your car when you're driving. I've been told this just recently because a lot of my cars have just broken down. Loop into your car, loop into that person, and have them loop back into you, and just spread the love that way. The soul to soul communication becomes so much easier. All that angst goes, all your nervousness goes, that isn't this going to work right because we're not on the same level. Come to the same level and have a soul to soul connection with that person that you could have had angst with. And it just irons everything out. Everything just becomes so much smoother. Keep breathing. You can do it with your eyes open. You don't need to sit opposite somebody and look like you're meditating. You can do this. The idea of doing this is you do this as you're walking through your day. When you're doing your laundry, when you're driving your car, when you're making your food. And mother's food is always so much more full of love than a restaurant's food, because you can taste it. If you go to a restaurant and you think, it doesn't feel quite right, because it misses this connection, this love. Was there anything else you would add into that, Karina?
Oh, this was so beautiful, Fiona. And I think for me, this is the thing. It's the felt experience. It's to drop into your body, to feel your own energy, and to connect with people there, so that wherever you are, whoever you're meeting with, meet them where you are, from this loving space, from your soul's kind of space as well. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you or what other people are going through. You can always come back to this. And I think that is one of the most important things that we who feel this call are being asked to do now, is not get sucked into the chaos around us. Just be aware of what's going on, but not get caught up in it, but to bring people into this connection, because that's how we shift things and can continue our reality and create something new as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful.
And also when they leave you, they kind of go, I don't know what happened there. That was kind of really easy. It's like a daydream effect that you have on them. But you'll find that paperwork can get sorted out much easier. I wasn't being told off by my soul. My soul is still asking me to do some things in a slightly different way. And sometimes I don't really always know what the next level is. So this comes to me, and then something else will come to me. And I was laughing about my car broke down on the way back from the beach with a 6-pack, like all my family and boys. We'd had a picnic when they went back to school, drove down this road, pop.
Wow.
I need a new engine. The day before, I was on my scooter with a girlfriend, and it was like no power. And like, okay, but we ended up in the same driveway of kind of a friend of ours. I'm like, there's no coincidence here. There's just never coincidence to these kind of things.
No.
And then my partner lent me his car that he doesn't use very much, and I had a flat tire. Okay. You know, it's okay. Often the symbol here is just to be deciphered, the same as I decipher what ailments, what aches and pains, what's going on with the body, why are you carrying the weight, what's the neck ache or the knee ache or the hip ache. There's something there that it's telling you. The same as a blocked drain in your house will tell you, or a broken window. I had to break a window in my car at the beginning of the lockdown. I had to break a window. I was like, I really didn't want to break it. I'm like, okay, I need to go inside. And again, I'm needing to go inside even more because my cars have been taken away from me just at the moment. So I can't keep going out and distracting myself. And really it is like, go inside, go inside, go inside, go inside, go inside. But the whole point of us being spirits in a human body is that we learn that. And then you can know it, you can read about it from all different books, but then like, actually, let's do that. Let's just do that. So what I'm trying to do here is with Karina and whoever else I speak to, souls, what are the simplest ways that we do that? You know, and somebody said to me, I know how to do that, Fiona, but I don't have time to do half an hour meditation. So doing this on a daily basis, stepping into that and being in that jolly place.
Yeah, and it can take an instant. Like you said, you connect with the earth. I kind of sometimes imagine being a tree, like I feel the roots growing down. I feel my feet on the earth. I feel the opening of the branches and connecting above. And that's all it takes. It can take 10 seconds. Because even if you spend an hour meditating every day, I don't always spend an hour meditating every day, by the way, you can still switch off. Right? So it doesn't guarantee that you're going to feel connected throughout your day. So I think
you can do an hour meditation and then straight afterwards go, oh!
Exactly. So it's really about tuning in like throughout your day and paying attention. Because when you're observing what's going on, you're feeling your body, you're being present, you know when there's something going on, you know if you're receiving a sign, you know if something's off. And the quicker you can receive that and accept it, I guess, the smoother it's going to be. Otherwise you're going to get one sign after the other until you're listening. So it's also doing, like, I guess, the path of least resistance. I'm very much for that as well.
And knowing that every single time you wake up in the morning, you choose to be who you're going to be.
Yeah.
What's your identity? You can choose to be like, okay, yes, I am the spirit in a human being. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Don't forget to ask, you know, the same as when I work with my ladies, I say, look, ask your soul, what is it that you would absolutely love to eat or to do today? What is it? And sometimes we get shown certain things and different ways of doing things. Is there anything there that you can think about when you're asking yourself, your soul? How do you talk to yourself, by the way?
I just listen. I think for now, because I've been practicing so much, it feels like it's a constant voice. Yeah. It's kind of like with people's minds when they think a lot. But it's like it's always there. And if I have a lot of stuff going on around me, sometimes I just close my eyes and I go, okay, what do I need now? What am I meant to do now? And usually it's like, a lot of times it's like rest, stop doing, you know, like stop. Because usually we don't have to do a lot of really fancy, complicated stuff. We just stop and listen. And then usually we receive exactly what we need. But I think because we're so busy and we tend to fill our days with so much, we don't always pay attention. So it's like the constant stopping, listening, and then trusting what I receive and not like overthinking.
And then actually going and doing it.
Exactly. Taking action too is really important. And it's often step by step. It's not like you get the whole roadmap in one go usually. Sometimes it's like a big vision, but it's always like, take this step. And
you get a massive vision and you kind of go, how on earth am I?
Yeah. Exactly.
I think what's really nice is just remembering that you're the little one. You're the small one. If you can possibly get your head around that you are the small one. And the universe and my dragons or your helpers and source and the earth, they're all there feeding you information, but you're so noisy You can't hear it. I remember saying to her, God, you're going to have to turn up the volume. I can't hear what you're saying. And it was like, well, be quiet then.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And, you know, it's impossible. And I'm a super doer. And I have been called a bulldozer in the past. So I can get things done. I can move mountains. And to not have that in my personality, when I'm like, well, maybe I could just go down by the river and get an idea.
Yeah,
like, I'm not that airy fairy. I'm not. So when you were sort of saying, I don't think I can do that. I totally resonate with that. And I so totally resonate with so many other people who are in addictions because they are all just stopping you from hearing.
Yeah.
Whether it's addiction to reading fiction, addiction to playing games on the computer, addiction to, food, which is a great one that I deal with. One sort of overworking, which is another one that sort of comes in. All of these, sex addiction, eating addiction, shopping addiction,
so many
addiction, any, and all the sort of we lovely ladies who like to shop for makeup and go and pamper ourselves and all the rest of it. That in effect has, can be an addiction as well, keeping up fashion and everything else. All those things.
Yeah, it depends on how you do it, doesn't it? Like, it's like also focusing too much on other people. That can be a good thing, and it can also be an addiction, because while you're busy saving everyone else and taking care of everyone and tuning into everyone's needs, you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing your work, right? So
exactly. But I think, half of that is also because, we are women and it's part of our human nature to take care of other people, and we think we're doing such a good job but we've never ever been selfish enough to take care of ourselves, because it was always seen as a bad thing. But if you're being selfish, you're not taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your soul. And I teach the way that how to sort of see your soul as your best friend, so that you can start the community. If it's not normal for you to have be brought up in that kind of household, then it has to be a switch. There's something somewhere that's going to just say, how do I see this? How do I see this in a different way? Well, you wouldn't speak to your best friend like that. You wouldn't feed your best friend like that. No. Unfortunately, we've been kicking our souls away for such a long time, and we're here remembering now that we are souls. And I think maybe, Karina, you'll realize that as well, that your children already know. They're far more advanced than we were. They already know. I mean, my boys used to say, no, there's no point going and getting Rio from creche because he's still asleep. Okay. They have that knowledge, and I've always tried to keep that knowledge going. They now both know their souls, and they can have conversations and do quirky things. Like we were doing dictée one day, and Alex was reading it out in French and I was doing it too, and I've got no idea how to write that word. And Alex said afterwards, when he was marking Rios, he said, how on earth do you know how to write that word? And you can't, conjugate that sentence or something. I'm like, don't look at mine then. And Rio didn't say anything. And later on, when I used to drive him to rugby, I used to make him shut his eyes and I'd talk to his soul. I said, so how did you get to that word then? He said, oh, do you want to know how I did it, Mummy? I said, oh, yes, please. And he said, well, I just kind of go into my blank space. And he said, I asked Dobby, what does that word look like? And he wrote it out for me.
Yeah, they're so wise. And if we don't cut that connection, that's like they have it and it can thrive, and it's like a natural thing. I think if it's not like when it's celebrated and allowed and you can talk about it, it's like they just they're so much more advanced than we are. Like I'm just amazed by all the stuff they know.
And I really want it talked about, as far as going about your everyday life, how to sort of sort problems out with a tax office or with a collection agency or something like that, or creating a new car, or creating a holiday, or creating the house that you live in, or creating a super partner that sort of has all the the qualities that you want, you know, and changing the relationship around with the people in your life, your family, your friends, your children.
Mm.
That is all possible when you work with your soul.
It's magic.
Yeah,
real life magic, right?
It is down to earth magic, isn't it? And
Yeah.
this is when you realise, oh, my partner calls me a little witch, and I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
Yep.
Can you do a little bit of magic on that? He said, because that would be so much easier if we could sort that out. I'm like, yeah, I know, but there's like some other big things that really haven't still sorted out, and I've been trying.
Yeah. It just becomes normal, doesn't it? Like, yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm the unicorn, so.
Oh, really?
They'll call me a unicorn, even my kids' friends and stuff. And we kind of laugh about it, but you can tell that they kind of get certain things, and it's so interesting. I love that, because I try to make it just fun and like lighthearted. And it's really fun to play with that as well.
On the last note then, something that just came into me to say, then it's not a surprise, is it, that our kids were brought up on Harry Potter, or that they are into unicorns, or that there are so much more magical things around to do with movies, series, those kind of things, because I really do believe that this is what is being fed down to show us all how much more magical life can be, everyday life. But my generation, certainly our parents' generation, God, it was tough.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we're complaining, it's good to think back to some of the really tough times in history and different generations. Definitely, they have so much more.
Our toughest thing is, I've got to let go.
Yeah.
Karina, thank you so much for sort of opening up and having sort of like these heartfelt, you know, little conversations and short stories and everything about how life really is when you are a spirit in a human body. I intend to share these. I intend for people to understand who it is and what we do, how we land in our bodies, how we can run our business on a soulful level, which is what Karina is excellent at doing. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
So much fun to be able to sort of meet you and do this, and let our souls have a little bit of a giggle and a little bit of a chat about, yeah, well, that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you to everyone watching this video as well. If you have questions for us, please ask or reach out.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop the recording now.